Welcome back to Motor Authority, Hypersonic and Future Systems Japan. Today, we're diving into one of the most highly anticipated and closely watched defense projects coming out of Japan, now the HVGP, or Hypervelocity Gliding Projectile. As nations across the Indo-Pacific ramp up their investments in advanced military technologies, Japan is developing its own answer to growing regional threats, and it's fast, agile, and built for the future battlefield. The HVGP is not just another missile. It represents a fundamental shift in how Japan is thinking about defense, deterrence, and strategic reach. Expected to be deployed around 2026, the HVGP is at the forefront of Japan's next-generation defense initiatives. It's a hypersonic glide vehicle, which means it doesn't follow the traditional ballistic arc of older missiles. Instead, it glides at hypersonic speeds above Mach 5, maneuvering through the atmosphere, making it significantly harder to detect, track, and intercept. To understand the HVGP's significance, you have to look at the context in which it's being developed. Japan's geography makes it both vulnerable and strategically vital. The country stretches across a chain of islands that are difficult to defend conventionally, especially in a high-speed, high-tech conflict. As tensions rise in the region, particularly with the growing assertiveness of China and the persistent threat from North Korea, Japan has recognized the need for a new generation of weapons that can respond quickly, precisely, and at long distances. The HVGP is Japan's answer to that challenge. Designed primarily for island defense, it's tailored to protect the Nansei Islands, a strategic chain that stretches southwest from Kyushu toward Taiwan. This area is viewed as a potential flashpoint, and the HVGP is being developed with that scenario in mind. It's intended not just to defend those islands but also to strike targets across long ranges, including naval vessels or missile launchers, before they can pose a threat. The missile's design is fundamentally different from traditional ballistic or cruise missiles. The launch phase involves a rocket booster that propels the glide vehicle to high altitudes and hypersonic speeds. Once at the right altitude, the glide body separates and begins its unpowered, high-speed descent toward the target. But this descent isn't just a free fall. The glide vehicle can maneuver during its flight, changing direction and altitude to evade interception systems and radar tracking. This maneuverability is key. It gives the HVGP a far higher chance of penetrating enemy defenses. Traditional missile defense systems, such as Aegis or THAAD, are optimized to intercept ballistic trajectories. A hypersonic glide vehicle, with its unpredictable path and blistering speed, poses a much harder target. From a technological standpoint, this is no small feat. Hypersonic flight requires materials that can withstand extreme heat, aerodynamic forces, and precision guidance in a highly dynamic environment. Japan's defense industry, traditionally more focused on incremental upgrades and defensive platforms, is making a major leap with the HVGP. And it's being done with a sense of urgency. Initially, Japan plans to deploy a Block 1 version of the HVGP around 2026. This first version is expected to have a more limited range and payload, but even at this stage, it's a critical milestone. The focus of Block 1 is island defense, and it will likely be deployed from fixed ground-based launchers. However, the development roadmap doesn't stop there. Japan has already announced plans for an upgraded Block 2 version, which would feature even longer range and improved maneuverability. This second iteration would be designed for anti-ship operations and deep strike capabilities, giving Japan the ability to counter enemy naval forces at significant distances. With the increased range, it could theoretically threaten ships operating in the East China Sea, a region of increasing strategic competition. The HVGP is also part of a broader shift in Japanese defense posture. For decades, Japan's military doctrine has been largely defensive, constrained by its post-World War II constitution. But the threat landscape has changed. With the rise of China's naval power, North Korea's missile arsenal, and Russia's military maneuvers in the Pacific, Japan is increasingly taking steps to develop what it calls counter-strike capabilities. The HVGP fits directly into this evolving strategy. It's not just about defending the homeland, it's about deterring adversaries by demonstrating the ability to hit back fast and with precision. It also complements Japan's growing interest in space-based sensors, electronic warfare, and AI-driven battlefield integration. Development of the HVGP is being led by Japan's Acquisition, Technology and Logistics Agency, ATLA, in partnership with domestic defense contractors and research institutions. The project has been receiving increased funding in recent defense budgets, signaling the government's commitment to seeing it through. And this isn't happening in isolation. Japan is also coordinating with the United States and other partners on broader missile defense and strategic technologies. There's a clear recognition that hypersonic weapons are changing the rules of the game and that Japan needs to be in that game, not watching from the sidelines. Critically, while Japan's hypersonic program is still in its early stages compared to those of the US, China, or Russia, the focused nature of the HVGPA specifically tailored to the geographic and strategic needs of Japan gives it a niche advantage. It's a homegrown solution to a local problem, with a precision that may rival or even exceed broader but less specialized systems. Looking forward, the HVGP's development is likely to trigger a regional response. Hypersonic arms races are no longer speculative, they're happening now. Every successful test, every deployed system, escalates the stakes. Japan, with its technological prowess and strategic imperatives, is stepping into this arena with clear intent. Of course, challenges remain. The technology is unproven in live combat, and much of the HVGP's operational effectiveness will depend on integration with advanced ISR, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, assets, satellite coverage, and networked command systems. But the foundation is being laid now. By 2026, Japan could very well be fielding its first hypersonic missile system, a capability that would have seemed unlikely just a decade ago. It's not just a missile. It's a message that Japan is preparing for the future of warfare, and it's not waiting for permission. That's it for today's deep dive on the hypervelocity gliding projectile. As always, we'll be tracking its development closely and bringing you the latest as Japan continues to build the next generation of defense technology. If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss what's next in hypersonic and future systems right here on Motor Authority.